Welcome to Hotline TV. I'm Amy Walter.
And I'm Don Mercurio. All right, yesterday we told you about the members of Congress who have a lot of work to do over this August recess. Well, today we're turning our attention to the upper chamber of Congress.
The cooling saucer.
The cooling saucer, if you will. The most deliberative body in the world, the U.S. Senate. Which senators going home, they're still in session though, they're headed home late this week and hopefully this weekend. Which of them have a full plate as they head home? Which ones are going to be headed home headed from the frying pan, if you will, Amy Walter, into the fire? Most of what we're going to be talking about is focused on healthcare because that is where the Senate is focused this week. That's where the town hall meetings and their constituencies do seem to have their attentions.
All right. Well, let's go to the first person we are going to talk about throughout this year. Well, we're going to be talking about this person regardless of if it's about healthcare, but that's Chris Dodd, the most vulnerable incumbent up for re-election this year.
So true.
Now, on the one hand, he is in a state, it's a blue state,
Sure.
They're going to support the president, they're likely to support the president's plan on healthcare, so he's not having to defend this plan in the same way that some of the blue dogs or conservatives have to. His bigger problem, as we know, is his own re-election campaign and giving voters in that state a reason to send him back. He also, as we learned last week, was diagnosed with prostate cancer, is going to have surgery over the recess. I don't know how active he's going to be able to be
right now. But you're seeing the administration, as we've seen sort of a theme developing in this his re-election strategy. He's relying heavily on the key top administration figures. He appeared in a town hall in Hartford yesterday with Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius, and you're right, he was greeted as a sort of a returning hero. He's sort of the de facto chairman of the Senate Health Committee right now with Ted Kennedy still sick at home, and he's being greeted in Connecticut, a very sort of liberal democratic state that supports the Health Committee's bill as someone who's doing the right thing on the right issue. So at least on that issue, and again, it's interesting, he still trails Rob Simmons in the polls. He still looks like, as you said, the most vulnerable incumbent, but he does seem to have a little wind at his back when it comes to specific issues. Where his state is concerned, he's voted right.
And this isn't about the issues, this is about Chris Dodd. Exactly. All right, which goes to our next person, Arlen Specter, who had a very different experience with Kathleen Sebelius at his town hall. Why don't we take a look at the video?
My practice, when you have a bill, and we have a lot of them that are 1,000 pages, is to take my half staff and we divide up the bills. We have to make judgments very fast. We give about...
All right, tough week for Arlen Specter. Yeah. Tough week, not just because of this, but because he's got Joe Stack in the race. He's got Pat Toomey moving to the center in some very obvious ways, or trying to at least on the Republican side. So
this has been Arlen Specter's problem all along. Is the more he moves to the left to try to placate Democrats, the more he loses independents.
Right.
And Republicans who already dislike him even more now.
Right.
And so he's in this no man's land that no matter what he does, no matter how many people he brings up from the administration, he's still not going to be trusted completely by any one of these groups.
Right.
What I wonder is, when do we get Barack Obama to come up and start stumping for Arlen Specter?
That'll happen. I mean, that's clearly going to happen. You saw the White House get so strongly behind him. They tried to get Joe Stack out of the race. You've got Rendell. You've got the whole Democratic machine behind him. My question, frankly, becomes, does it matter?
Right. I mean, I don't think that Rendell has, first of all, he does not have the popularity he did a couple years ago.
No. I mean, Obama still does, and I think Obama still has an impact, but I don't think he matters, frankly. I think it's more for, in this race, in this particular instance, it's more of a negative for Obama coming up campaigning for Specter than it is a positive for Arlen Specter. But you're right, a very different experience because it's a very different constituency that he has to deal with. He hasn't been as active on healthcare as Chris Dodd, or at least he hasn't been as visible on it. He hasn't been one of the bipartisan Senate Finance Committee members.
Well, because he doesn't have the seniority now that he's a Democrat. All right.
Ben Nelson from Nebraska. A very interesting, very different situation going on in Nebraska. Moderate centrist has come out against the public plan, or at least has been very, very critical and skeptical of the government-run health care option that the Democrats are considering, liberal Democrats. Liberal groups running television ads against him. He came out against the groups, and the group said, you know what? We're going to triple our ad buy.
Triple.
But as Amy Walter was just saying quite wisely, probably not the smartest move for those groups. Actually, this could end up being a real net benefit for Nelson. He's not up in 2010, not up until 2012, but he's someone who needs to be fighting with the liberals in his party. He needs to be positioning himself as the centrist Democrat in order to win in a tough state like Nebraska.
Right, and anytime he gets attacked from out-of-state liberal interests, it gives him one more opportunity to say, see, I'm a Nebraska Democrat, not a national Democrat. All right, and finally, in Colorado,
Michael
brand
Benet.
new. I know it does look like Benet.
I just want to call
one
him
T.
Benet. Yeah.
Well, maybe you could. You should ask him. He's a fan of the show.
I'll ask James Bennett,
All
also a big fan of the show.
He, with one T, is running for re-election for the very first time, and
Well, he's running for election.
well, he's actually correct. He's running for election for the first time as he was appointed. What kind of experience is he, feeling as he's out on the trail? He's never had to do anything like this before. Town hall meetings can be very intimidating,
Right.
especially if you're not used to going in front of people who are screaming at you.
Right.
Is he holding his own, or is this...
Frankly, of the four that we've talked about, well, I guess Dodd had a relatively good experience in Connecticut, but I would say that between Specter and Nelson and Bennett is having the best experience. Going back to Colorado, the town halls that he's held over the past couple of days so far have been very, very sort of smooth, not too much,
people
not
in
too much
Colorado
protest.
they're so nice.
Well, they're nice people, but also Michael Bennett hasn't taken a real position on healthcare. He's going back and calling it more of a listening tour than a talking tour. You're hearing a lot of Senate Democrats saying, no, we need to go tell people what these bills are about so they don't get misinformation from the Republicans. Bennett not doing that so much more of a listening, wait and see kind of attitude.
Which has been his MO throughout this campaign,
That's
right?
correct.
That he has still not come out with a position on EFCA and on this as well. He understands that this is a marginal state. The turnout dynamics are going to be very different in 2010 than they were in 2008. And his benefactor, Governor Ritter, could be in a very tight race. We will see Bob Beaupre. Remember Bob Beaupre?
I do remember Bob
Says
Beaupre.
he may be coming back and challenging Bennett because he thinks that the field of Republicans thus far in the race are pretty weak. Although, as if I recall, Bob Beaupre lost big.
By 16 points.
Oops.
Not so good. Don't tase me, Beau. Pray.
Get it?
Good
All
one.
right.
All right.
Well, we are out of time. Until next time, I'm Amy Walter.
And I'm John Mercurio. Thanks so much for watching Hotline TV.